All right, so today's show, man. Today's show is real good. It's real serious. It's real. It's crazy because you know I do a lot of videos and I help men out, I help women out, and I'm all about being yourself and being who you are and finding out what it is that you like to do in your life, what it is that makes you interesting, makes you you, right? And then through that, you can accomplish and do anything you want, get anything you want, and make it happen for yourself, right? Now, so the reason why I titled this show, why nerds, the real reason nerds don't get ass, is because I've had a lot of people, leave comments on my page, and I've heard other people say this where, they say, oh, well, this being yourself stuff, it doesn't really work. Because if I'm a nerd, or if this person's a nerd and they're being themselves, then they're not going to get booty because they're a nerd and they're being themselves. And this is the thing. Being a nerd, listen, being a nerd is not who you really are. Do you understand what I'm saying? Being a nerd is not who you really are. And I'm going to explain that. Okay? A nerd is basically an archetype. Do you understand what I'm saying? So if you subscribe to that archetype, then you are going to basically be receiving whatever that archetype is supposed to receive. So what's an archetype? Like, what the fuck is an archetype, Mr. Lagar? So an archetype is basically like a model of a person. It's kind of like like, let's say, for example, you have a teacher archetype, or a cop archetype, or a motherly figure archetype, or the superhero archetype, or it's a type of person. And then when you label yourself as that type of person, then what you're doing is that you're taking all those things that person is supposed to have. So you understand what I'm saying? So when you label yourself a nerd and you label yourself that archetype, a nerd basically doesn't get ass. When it comes to women, if you say nerds and chicks, people are automatically going to think the nerds are not getting any pussy, the nerds ain't getting girls, or they say, oh, she's out of my league, I don't know how to talk to girls, I'm awkward. So by you saying and accepting that you are a nerd, right, then you're basically saying that you're not going to get women. Why? Because nerds don't get women. And so when you say I'm a nerd, you have to follow through on what nerds do and what happens to nerds, which is nerds don't get girls. So the thing that you got to realize is that you think you're a nerd, but you're much more than what the label of a nerd is, because we all take on labels. We all be like, okay, I'm this, I do that, but who you really are is much deeper than the function you serve or the label you put on yourself. Because you as a person, you have things that you think about that are probably unique to you. You certain things make you happy, certain things make you sad, certain things make you excited, certain things you have passion for certain things, and those things are unique to you, which is deeper than just the archetype of what a nerd is, or just putting a label of what a nerd is on you. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because you say, okay, I'm a nerd, and then that is supposed to basically encompass, or you're making that encompass your whole being, as if this is all you are. I am nerd. That's, you know what I'm saying? So the thing is that people take on different roles. People do different things. Like let's say you have, for example, you have a person who you see them and they're an actor. And then that same actor person is a rapper, like Drake or Childish Gambino or something. You know what I'm saying? And then Childish Gambino is also a comedian. You understand? So he's actor, rapper, comedian. He's doing all of this shit, but that's just certain labels, certain functions that he does. But that's not all about who he really is inside and everything that makes up him. You understand what I'm saying? So when you're saying, okay, I'm a nerd, right? All you're doing is setting yourself up to not get women. When it comes to not getting women, see, you're thinking, oh, I can't get a woman because I'm a nerd. But the thing is that it's the other way around. Since you think you're a nerd, that is why you can't get women. You understand what I'm saying? Because it's like this, like when you have, like, if you're you know, every archetype, every type of person, right, has like the, I guess you could say the negative and the positive about it, or the cool part or the not so cool part, or whatever you want to call it, right? Now, if you label yourself as a nerd, right, how about you take the parts of what being a nerd is, the positive parts, or the most interesting parts, and fuck with that, and then leave the other part alone. Do you understand what I'm saying? So like they have the stereotype, okay, nerd, you're smart, and you know, you make, usually since you're smart, you probably end up making a lot of money doing such and such later in life. Like with someone like Bill Gates, who's basically, they'll say, is a nerd, but you know, dude is rich as hell. He, you know, invented certain things and did certain things. So you take that part of that archetype, which is positive, which is, you know, and then you can keep that. You understand what I'm saying? But as far as, you know, being a nerd and people saying, well, nerds don't get ass, you understand what I'm saying? You don't subscribe to that. Don't subscribe to that part. It's like, even I remember, who was it? It was I think it was Tariq Nasheed in his book Art of Mackin, and he had this part where he was talking about types of guys, and he called it the 4 Ps. I think it was you know, you have the player, the professional, I think it was the parolee, and the pushover. I think that's right. You got to correct me if I'm wrong, right? So he had those different types of dudes, and basically what he was saying, for example, is like you know, you have the player who, you know, his positive attributes is like, you know, he's smooth, he knows what he's trying to do, and he's cool with the ladies. But at the same time, the flip side is that the player might, you know, lie and do this and do some sneaky shit, right? And then you have the other positive aspects of the other types. So he was saying, take all the positive aspects of all 4 of those types and incorporate that in your game. You understand what I'm saying? So if you know, just have to have this archetype of I'm a nerd, if you feel like you're really a nerd, take the parts of what being a nerd is that is positive and use that, and stop taking the parts that's not going to help you, which is the part of people seeing being a nerd as a person who can't get any vagina. Do you understand what I'm saying? So the thing is that, you know, a lot of people, like, and this is why you have these guys, a lot of the guys in the pickup artist community who, you know, a lot of them are nerds, quote unquote nerds. They say, I'm a nerd, I don't know, you know, whatever. And what happens in those things is that you go to these pickup artist things and you look at these things, and it's a lot of it where they're basically trying to tell you to change yourself. You know, you understand what I'm saying? Like, they're saying, well, you're a nerd, and this is just you, so now you have to change who you are. But the thing is that you subscribe to being a nerd, so you think a nerd is who you really are. So now you're thinking you have to change yourself in order to get these women. So subconsciously you're telling yourself, well, I'm not good enough to get women, so I have to pretend to be somebody else who I'm not to get women. But the thing is that in the first place, you were not a nerd in the first place. That's not who you really are. You understand what I'm saying? But let's start off with you thinking you're a nerd. So now you think you're a nerd, and then you go to these pickup artist things, and they say, okay, you got to dress this way, you got to act that way, you got to be this, you got to be that, be everything that you're not. Pretend. I've actually heard in some of these like pickup artist videos where they tell guys to, you know, bring some friends with them to the bar or something, and then you pretend that you're like actor, and this guy and your friend is your photographer, and your other friend is your manager, and act like you're doing some big deal, and you talk to the girls and you tell them all these lies. And it's like they're saying, okay, you're a nerd, and since you're a nerd, you can't get ass. Now what you got to do is change, you know, that, and then you would get ass. So if you're starting from that point of thinking you're a nerd, and then you got to change it yourself, then you kind of feel funny later on, thinking, damn, I had to change who I am to get this woman. But you're already starting off at a bad point, thinking that a nerd is who you really are. You understand what I'm saying? And like I said, You don't have to change yourself. You have to find yourself. And what I mean by find yourself is you have to find out who you really are. Find out what makes you tick, what makes you excited, what makes you happy, what gives you, you know, like a good feeling in the morning, what you're passionate about. This is the stuff. This is who you really are. I can't tell you who you really are. You understand what I'm saying? I can't tell you what you're about. You have to figure out what you're about. But what happens is that a lot of you guys out there, what you do is that, and this is just for everybody, is that, you know, everybody wants to cling on to a specific identity. You understand what I'm saying? And it's just human nature that we see a person and we kind of like put them in this little box. We see how they dress, we see how they act, and we say, okay, this person's a nerd, this person's a slut, this person's a thug, you understand what I'm saying? As soon as you say that, you already have the ideas of what is going to happen or how this person, you know, is supposed to play out the situation. You understand what I'm saying? And now what happens is that people start to look at the situation as in a way that, like, you're putting yourself out there in a certain way, and then the way you're putting yourself out there is that everyone is basically confirming and co-signing the identity you put out there. So for example, you say you're a nerd, right? And then they have this thing called the everybody knows factor. And like if you study marketing and stuff, where let's say they have like a Harley Davidson or something, and Harley Davidson is good at motorcycles. So if you're gonna buy a motorcycle, somebody be like, yeah, buy the Harley Davidson. Everybody knows that Harley Davidsons, you know, they make good motorcycles. You understand? Or you're gonna buy a computer. Everybody knows that, you know, Apple makes good computers. Or, you know, the opposite could be in a bad way. It's like, you know, you can go up to like some company or whatever, and then somebody be like, oh, don't buy that brand. Everybody knows that brand sucks. You understand what I'm saying? So when you label yourself as a nerd, guess what? Everybody knows that nerds don't get ass. Do you understand what I'm saying? So when you have in your mind that you're a nerd, it's only logical that you're going to say, even just to yourself, that it's going to be hard for you to get booty because you're a nerd, and girls don't like nerds. You understand what I'm saying? That's how it works. It's not about, oh, you're not, like I said, it's not about you're not getting ass because you're a nerd. It's because you think you're a nerd is the reason why you're not getting ass. You understand what I'm saying? And that's the thing that you got to get. You have to realize that. You understand what I'm saying? And like I said, it's not about changing yourself. See, once you figure out what you're about, you know that you would never have to really change who you are. You understand? See, there's certain things you could work on. Like, let's say, for example, you know, you start talking to girls and, you know, you get nervous. You understand what I'm saying? A little too much. And then you get scared and you know, you don't know what to say, whatever. And these are things you can work on while you're, you know, out there trying to basically understand the game and tailor it to what you're about. But it's not necessarily changing who you are, because like I said, in the first place, you think this whole nerd thing is not technically who the fuck you are. You understand what I'm saying? That's something you took on. And a lot of guys, they take that nerd shit on because it's also kind of like a safety thing. You understand? It's kind of like, well, I don't, you know, I'm not going to bother talking to her because, come on, I'm a nerd. Like, what the fuck? She's not going to like me anyway. Why bother even going? Why bother even doing it? You understand what I'm saying? Like, you've already defeated yourself in the process. And then what happens is that another dude that you're chilling with who thinks he's a nerd too, you understand what I'm saying? So now you're the nerd hanging out with another nerd, and then y'all start confirming your nerdiness. Then you start chilling with other nerds, and then all of you guys are confirming the same shit. You know, and you have no one around you that knows how to get women, and then as a result, none of you guys are getting women, and none of you guys are getting women is because you guys started to take on that nerd archetype. You guys said that we are nerds, and this is what happens with nerds. And this girl will not like me because, you know, I'm a nerd and she's out of my league. I fucking hate that term. She's out of my league. Are you serious? Like what? Like, and this is the part that's really like crazy, because you know you have people that, since they think they're a nerd, right? So now they think they're a nerd, and they like, a nerd is who I am. A nerd is what all I'm about. And now they say I have to change myself, right? And now you're going through all this changing yourself and trying to be something that you're not, or you know you're doing this little crazy thing, and you're doing all this just to impress a girl or trying to get a girl. Now that already within itself is you putting a woman on a pedestal anyway, thinking you have to change who you are or what you're about just to get a woman. You understand what I'm saying? Like, and this is why you have to really find yourself and understand who you are, and realize that a nerd is not who you are. It's almost like just the function. It's like a nerd is the same thing as being a fucking fireman. It's just something that a label that you put on. You understand what I'm saying? And then the fireman takes out fires. The cop does this. The fucking chef does this, and the nerd does this. Do you understand what I'm saying? And when it pertains to women, the nerd does not get women. So this is the real reason why nerds don't get ass. It's not because you're a nerd. It's because you think you're a nerd, and the archetype of a nerd does not get women. Do you understand what I'm saying? So it's not about if you think you're a nerd, it's not about saying, oh, I have to change myself so I'm not a nerd. It's about realizing that you were never a nerd in the first place. And if you're going to, like I said, take on the archetype of a nerd, just take on the fucking positive parts. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like you take on the parts that, like, you know, like I said, Bill Gates, nerd, billionaire, or whatever. You understand? Take that shit on. Take that business nerd aspect of it. You see what I'm saying? But when it comes to the fucking getting girls and shit, and then you pretend, or you thinking that you're a nerd, you're automatically not going to get girls, because your mind has already been set to prepare yourself for your nerddom. You know what I'm saying? Of not getting women. And you see this all the time in movies, and a nerd, and he's, you know, and he has trouble getting girls because he's nerdy and blah blah blah, and he's like, it's just like Steve Urkel on Family Matters, that like probably the most famous nerd of all goddamn time. You understand what I'm saying? And it's like that model of that person. Most of you guys, y'all take that on. You understand what I'm saying? And like I said, when you realize who you are, you have to basically find yourself. So what that means is, forget all that nerd shit. You understand? Like, actually just sit with yourself and say, you know, like, what am I interested in? And then what's going to happen is you probably say some shit like, oh, I like video games or World of Warcraft and shit. And then you're going to say, well, that's nerdy, right? But you don't have to attach nerdy to that. You could just be like, look, I like fucking World of Warcraft. Like, that's what I like to do. You understand what I'm saying? And you don't have to say, well, I'm a nerd because I like this. You understand? You just like it because you like it. You know what I mean? And when it comes to talking to girls, don't think about, okay, well, she's not gonna like me because I like, you know, I'm a nerd, and the reason why I'm a nerd is because I like World of Warcraft, or I like playing this video game, or I do all these other quote-unquote stereotypical things that nerds are supposed to do, or whatever the nerd archetype is supposed to do. So, like I'm saying, you have to get out of your head, or get out of your mind, that thinking that a nerd is your identity. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because once you, like I said, once you do that, it's it has to play out in the way that you're not going to get any. It's going to play out in that way, because even you're presenting yourself as a nerd, and like I said, everybody knows nerds don't get ass. So when you approach a chick, she's going to be like, dude, I can't give you my pussy. You're a nerd. I can't do it. That's just not what happens. Do you understand what I'm saying? So it's about you stopping that. Stop that whole I'm a nerd shit and I can't, you know what I mean? And it's great. And I talk about a lot of the shit in my book, How to Have Sex 2 Women Today. I need to get this. This is like serious game. Go to mrlocario.com and get yourself a copy of this ebook. Because I actually go into that. A lot of it has to do with your mind. That's where a lot of it starts from. But a lot of people don't realize that. You're taking on all these things that society has set in place for you to take, and they basically do that shit. There's these archetypes, and they want you to fit into a box because it's easier to control you that way. It's easier to sell you products, but that's a whole nother story. You understand what I'm saying? So they do that for those reasons, but then what you do is you internalize that, and then you think that that's who you really are, and then what you do is you play out what that person is supposed to be. So you see another guy and you say, damn, I wish I was cool like him because he's a player and he gets all the women. You understand what I'm saying? Like, all you have to do is realize exactly what you're about. And then you can't even, a nerd cannot even, the description of a nerd cannot even fit who you really are in the slightest. You understand what I'm saying? Because who you really are is so complex. There's so much about you. There's so much that you have to offer. There's so much that is deep inside you that you're not tapping into. And that's because you're being blocked by putting yourself in the nerd box. Do you understand what I'm saying? So you got to get the fuck out that box and actually take some time to realize who the fuck you really are, understand what you really want, and go after that. If you want to get girls, if you're trying to get girls and you think because you're a nerd, is the reason why you can't get girls, like I said, it's if you keep thinking you're a nerd, then that's what's going to happen. You understand what I'm saying? Because you're thinking, like I said, you're thinking because you're saying I'm a nerd, this is why I can't get girls. But it's because you think that you're a nerd is why you can't get girls. Do you understand what I'm saying? So you really have to understand that. You guys really need to basically figure out what you're about and then keep going in that direction and stop putting these labels on yourself. Stop putting these labels that's going to limit you and make you think that, hey, this is who I am. This is all who I am. And I just have to accept what this is going to bring me. You understand? And that's just that's like the biggest fucking lie in the world is you thinking that you are that label that you put on yourself as far as like, and if you, because all you are, whatever your name is and whatever, like I'm just fucking, I'm Mr. Locario. That's who the fuck I am. I'm not a nerd. I'm not a player. I'm not a Mac. If you want to put that shit on me, if you want to say that's me, then that's cool. You could do that if you want. But I understand who I am, and you have to understand who you are. Do you understand? Because a lot of times, you guys out there, you're trying too hard to fit in a certain mold, or you're trying too hard to keep that identity, because it's like I said, it's a safety thing. You want to say, okay, well, I'm a nerd. This is what I do. And this is the reason I can't get girls. So when I say, hey, you can get any chick you want, you can holler at girls, you're gonna say, but I can't because I'm a nerd. You understand? And I need to change myself. I need to do all these crazy things. And you got to realize that that is not really what it's about. It's about understanding who you are, understanding what you're about. What are you doing? You want to say something? What happened? What are you gonna say? Say it.
I just want to clarify because I think I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure.
Mm-hmm.
So this might help someone else.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I feel like what you're saying is, if you are a nerd,
mm-hmm.
or if you're a firefighter,
yeah.
or if you're a teacher,
yeah.
or if you're a police person,
yeah.
Any of these things, that's not all of who you are.
Exactly.
That you can identify with being a nerd,
mm-hmm.
and that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't encompass your entire who you are.
Entire being.
Right?
Exactly.
So let's say I'm a teacher.
Mm-hmm.
I love to be a teacher. I'm very comfortable with that as part of my identity, but it's only a part.
Exactly.
Right? When I'm having sex or when I'm, out
doing other stuff or whatever,
dancing, I'm not being a teacher actively. Right? So I feel like what you're saying is you can be a nerd and that's fine, but don't associate being a nerd with all of who you are, and especially don't associate being a nerd and not getting women as part of your
nerd thing. Exactly. And that's what I'm saying, like, because as human beings, we're going to attach certain, like, you have a name, you understand what I'm saying? Like, your name is this, my name is that, and that's how people identify you, as that name. So even beyond that, there's certain types, that we know, okay, this is the nerdy type, this is the thug, this is the ditzy girl, this is the whatever. You understand what I'm saying? But even within that, you don't take that as your true identity. You understand what I'm saying? It's kind of like Spider-Man.
It's just a part of
exactly. It's like Spider-Man. Spider-Man, Peter Parker is, he puts on the damn thing and he's Spider-Man when he's doing his Spider-Man thing. Do you understand what I'm saying? But
there are other aspects.
There's other aspects of Spider-Man or Peter Parker, the person who's in the Spider-Man suit. That's who he really is. Do you understand what I'm saying? So these guys are putting on the nerd suit. You understand what I'm saying? And they're saying, well, this is all I am. And then the nerd powers, the weakness of the nerd power is I can't get a woman. You understand what I'm saying? So understand that you don't have to take on that. Do you understand? Like,
what you're saying. Sorry.
Go ahead. What are you saying?
So you're saying you're a nerd, but you're also a man who can get a lot of women.
Exactly.
And you can do that at the same time.
Exactly.
Maybe you put on the different hats at different moments in your life.
Exactly.
You can do both.
Exactly. And don't make it seem as if, okay, I'm a nerd, so I can't get these chicks. You understand what I'm saying? Because like I said, you can take the positive aspects of that archetype. Like I said, like if you're gonna go the stereotypical I'm a nerd thing, then like I said, do what the big nerds did, like Bill Gates and all these other, who's some other nerds I know there's a lot of nerds or quote unquote nerds out there making a lot of money. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of actors that are nerds. You understand what I'm saying? So yeah, Justin Timberlake a goddamn nerd. You understand what I'm saying? So like it's like, yo,
yet so many women want to have
exactly. So take the parts of that shit and the positive shit and incorporate that. You understand? And that's what I try to tell people. Like, if you want to subscribe to an archetype, then you say, okay, well, if you're looking at me as a nerd or whatever, this is the cool shit that I do. You understand? I'm not dealing with the negative shit. And that goes for anything. You know what I'm saying? Like, because a person, like, for example, if you're a cop, a person might look at you and be like, oh, these fucking police, fuck the pigs. But you say, you know what? I'm a cop, and the reason why I'm a cop or I do cop things is because I like to actually help people. You understand what I'm saying? Instead of being a cop that's going to harass somebody or be crooked. You see what I'm saying? So you take the positive aspects of what a cop does and you do that. You understand what I'm saying? So the same thing with nerdiness. The part of the nerd that I can't get women is not positive. Do you understand what I'm saying?
And you don't have to embrace that.
And you don't have to embrace, exactly. You don't have to. You don't. You understand? But the thing is that if you, and that only comes from self-awareness, because if you're not self-aware, you're going to take whatever they said a nerd is. Like if they said definition of a nerd, a guy that does this and gets no booty, right? So then if you say, okay, well, I'm a nerd, damn, well, it says I can't get booty, so I'm just gonna stick with that. But if you're self-aware and you say, okay, well, look, I myself am saying I'm gonna take on this nerd thing, but I understand that this is only a label, and I understand that I don't need to subscribe to this part of it. I don't need to subscribe to that. So I'm so self-aware, and I understand that this thing is just an archetype, and the real me is much more than just what they say a nerd is. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Right, and I'm in control of my own persona.
Exactly, and that's all I wanted to get across today, because I've heard so many people, because it's all about being yourself, being true to yourself. You know what I'm saying? It's all about being true to yourself, all about understanding who you are. That's why we say the truth is inside you. You understand what I'm saying? It's about you. You know what I'm saying? It's about understanding who you are, because it's all about how when you look at shit objectively, there's technically the truth is, like, you can't say, well, this is the truth for everybody. You understand what I'm saying? But you understand, you got to say, what's the truth for me? What makes me me? What's the real me? And that's only going to happen if you start to find yourself. Do not try to, you don't have to change who you are. You got to find yourself. You understand what I'm saying? Well, I see somebody rain something. The problem with nerds is they're not into, what's that, into something like regular people. It's censored. JRL said the problem with nerds is they're not into shit like regular people. I mean, it's not necessary. Like, see, the thing is, like, and like I said, it's because a lot of people who subscribe to whatever nerd shit is that nerds are looked at as like these other weird guys. Like, if you look at, what's that movie, Revenge of the Nerds and shit, it's like shit like that. You know, people who've watched those movies or seen those things, or, you know, Family Matters with Steve Urkel, they look at that and then they say, oh, I'm kind of like that guy, so that's who I am. That's what I'm going to take on.
And it limits you.
Yeah, and it limits you. And like I said, it's a safety thing because everybody wants to identify with something. They want to say, oh, I'm this and I'm that and I do this and I do that. You understand? So it's crazy. You know what I mean? So it's crazy shit, man. But yeah, all the quote unquote nerds out there, man, like, don't, you know, that's what's really holding you back is your mind frame and what you really, you know, think about yourself and understanding yourself. And it sucks that, you know, you have so many people out here who, you know, feel like that they have to like change who they are. And the thing is I'm telling you, you have to really spend time with yourself to figure out who the fuck you are. And that's really what it's about.
Hey, what's up? It's dating and life coach Mr. Locario. Go to badboymembership.com and master the dating game by joining my Bad Boy Membership program. In this program, you'll receive 45 through 90-minute, easy-to-follow, step-by-step dating advice tutorials that's guaranteed to help you attract, date, and have sex with beautiful women. Join the Bad Boy Membership today by going to badboymembership.com. That's badboymembership.com.